Am I going to get billed for this therapy session?
100%.
Okay.
The financial success wasn't there. Would you still be as driven to do it?
Farruko, es Enrique Santos. Soy yo.
Para hacer una entrevista con este hijo de madre.
Oye, papi, es Enrique Santos.
Enrique, el pana mío, el legendario.
Yo. Papi, I'm really busy right now. I can't talk, okay? I'm busy, bro. I'm busy.
Why become a police officer?
Service is not a job. We mistake that control is safety. People, I want to be famous. I want to be rich.
Did it trigger any insecurities?
Sure. A lot of people don't talk about these things.
But I know a bunch of people, a bunch of artists, a bunch of managers that work as hard as I do don't have what I have. Which tells me that
people will forget words, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
How do you deal with success?
Knowing that success is the paycheck. I don't do this for the money. I do it because those same words that you told somebody are the same exact words you need to hear. You can be Latino and live simultaneously in two worlds and still have success.
Do you feel like if you could do what you do and the financial success wasn't there, would you still be as driven to do it?
It would probably be more difficult to do it because you do need money to be, not that you need money to be creative, but you do need money to invest, to be able to have the time. I would say to invest not in material things, but it goes way beyond, cameras and microphones and having the gear and the technology to do it. Because nowadays anybody, and you can, it's a lot more accessible than before. Anyone can do make a home podcast studio and buy microphones, and there's so much technology to edit. And it's much more accessible. The investment is the time to be able to create that space where you're able to regenerate energy and keep your creative juices going without getting burnt out.
Listen, this is, and we'll talk about this as well, as like, this is me stretching my vessel to receive a new age in my life, right?
What made you want to do it? What?
I think for me, it really came down to feeling in a box, right? Like I posted a video yesterday on Instagram that, I was really surprised because the amount of comments it got, but it was me watching a video of myself from 14 years ago when I was like a nobody, like legit a nobody in the business.
I saw you post it.
And
like
I was
10 years later.
Yeah, I was like, yo, I made it. I'm CEO Lex and I'm going to make you famous. Bro, I couldn't even make myself famous, let alone somebody else. But that kid understood the power of his creativity, understood the power of being the talent, right? Like he wasn't afraid to get in the video and speak in that way because he like really based it on that. But somewhere along the way, the fear kicked in. And I created the box of, no, I'm the manager. Because if I'm the manager and you fail, there's a separation between you failing and me failing, right?
But you see that kid that you posted, that Lex that I saw that you posted on your Instagram that was celebrating. He was acknowledging his moment, what it took for him to get to that point at that moment. He was appreciative of that moment, and he was celebrating that moment. And I think that's something that we need to do more often. It's just as humans, understand where we're at, not where we want to be, right? How many people don't have the new car and, okay, but that car's not new enough. I want the new one that's coming out next month. I got the new watch and this watch is cool and it's beautiful, but I don't want this watch. I want the new one that's coming out next year. And that's what keeps us going, keeps us challenged. We all need challenges as humans, and it's okay to celebrate their moments, keeping your boots on the ground and keeping humble about it. But there's nothing wrong with celebrating everything you had to sacrifice to get where you're at in life. So that's what I saw in that video you posted.
Yeah.
Going back to the boxes, absolutely. I feel boxed in all the time, and every day I try to find ways. I've never liked labels. I always think that labels do us more harm than good as humans. And that goes to, and we need labels to kind of understand psychology and in humans. And, you have genres of music and they get put into different columns and boxes. Again, we get boxed in. If you're a title or CEO of a company, people expect you to wear a suit and tie. You can't just wear like shorts or dress down like the rest of your employees. I don't agree with that. Again, but you get boxed into that. So I get boxed into I have certain days of the week or certain hours of the day where it's Enrique the morning radio broadcast guy, the host of the morning show. And then it's Enrique, the English, he's hosting his English show. So now, you know, it's a different Enrique, and the English is different than the Spanish. Some people have a hard time making the difference between all that.
You know, one of the other points that I've discovered was the idea of running away from the fear, it's kind of what we've been taught, like always look for the light at the end of the tunnel, or,
right.
you know, be afraid. And similar to you experiencing that, I've found in my life that the harder the situation or the most uncomfortable it makes me, if I lean into that, the bigger the blessing is. Because I've learned that that's where the gold is. Like, that's the lesson, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the sitting in the fire instead of running away from the fire
Great point.
moment.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you related to your own experience, because sometimes, again, I feel the exact same thing. The things that make me super nervous, and then the times that I feel comfortable is where I've made the mistakes. Like the times that I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm 100%, I know how to make this deal. And I go do it and I land it. And then I'm like, oh my God, I could have pushed for an extra $1 million. Or I could have, because I was just so comfortable in the thing, that the fear factor that allows you to like kind of zoom out and look at yourself almost as the watcher, as I call it, is not there, because you're running things in programming.
For sure.
So for me, it's been really interesting over the past 2 years to learn that the harder the situation, the more that I lean in, the more that I face that fear or face that, and then I find the gold in that.
So you don't believe in balance?
No, because life can throw you anything. If I take this straw and I put it in my hand and I balance it perfectly, it just takes and it'll go, right? I believe in rhythm. I believe in finding your rhythm, right? Your heartbeat works in rhythm. We talk in rhythm. We walk in rhythm. The world is flow of energy. And in finding your rhythm, that's what really, instead of I'm trying to find a balance between work and personal life. No, you try to find a rhythm that works for you. And that rhythm could change. Sometimes you're EDM, sometimes you're salsa, sometimes you're classical music, you know? But the concept of saying that to me, for me, was like eye-opening, because it made me understand that whenever I'm driving, I'm only going as far as my knowledge knows, right? And whenever I'm not driving, I can let the universe take me wherever the universe is. And the universe allows me to meet Enrique Santos. The universe allows me to meet Will Smith. The universe allows me to do the things that I've done, not by I deserve it, but by design of the universe plans. God's plans are just bigger than yours. And that's easily said, harder to believe.
With that said, where is that balance though of paying attention to the universe, letting the universe dictate what's going to happen, and then your dreams and your creativity and what you want to accomplish? Because
in my personal life,
standing in the corner, 10, 15 years ago, just standing there waiting for the wind to blow, you would have not have created the empire that you've created.
What I've learned in my personal life is, if you are operating from fear, if you're operating from a place of distress, meaning I need to control because this is going to fall apart, and if I fall apart and the deal doesn't close and I got to do it, so I got to stay up all night, that's fear.
Got it.
So to me, what I've learned is, when fear kicks in, stay still. Because you can work overtime and still fail.
But sit still for how long?
Until you can identify what is not led by fear.
So you don't make a stupid mistake or make a decision based on fear.
It doesn't even have to be a stupid mistake. It's so you don't suffer on your way to reaching your dreams. Because we suffer because we think, and we've been programmed to think that if we don't work really hard, or we don't work 48 hours a day to try to finish it, then the success is not going to happen.
Right.
But I know a bunch of people, a bunch of artists, a bunch of managers that work as hard as I do don't have what I have, which tells me that what I have is a gift. It's not
a combination of things. You're just better at what you do than they are.
But it's a gift.
You're more determined. You have more drive.
But it's a gift.
Your ideas are better.
But it's a gift.
At the end of the day, it's always a gift.
Right?
But you realize it. And that's why you're being blessed by more gifts. some people don't realize it, or some people think that they're just entitled automatically, to they just deserve, and that they have to have these things because they just have to.
I'll give you a good example. When I took over the company and we started to grow it, and I say I went from being an entrepreneur to a CEO. My idea of being a CEO was being an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you're accustomed to painting the wall, doing this, hitting the thing, like doing everything because you're trying to hustle up, right? Now it's like, okay, great. We've raised money. We have the company's doing well. We're all good. Now I'm a CEO. And I started speaking to friends of mine who, are CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies. And they'd be like, so what are you doing this year? Like, what are your travel plans? And I'll be like, man, I don't even know what tomorrow's going to bring. Like, because I might need to cancel my trip. And one of my friends said, oh, you're not rich enough. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I spend January to March in Aspen skiing. In the summer. And I said, but when do you get any work done? I said, Lex, the key of being a CEO is understanding that it's just the vision. The work itself, the idea that you have to over hustle stops you from having the brain space to think of the vision and have clarity. So work is hiring the right people, putting the right people to,
Sure.
and then carrying the vision. And then
do you think that CEO that's planning all those trips and not in the trenches, not rolling up their sleeves, not helping paint those walls, is at a disadvantage? Is
No.
limiting themselves?
to the opposite. They've understood that their value is the vision, is the creativity, is the guidance, right? And their value of the person below them might be operational, and the value of the person below them might be logistics, and the value of like what they've understood is that it's not their job to figure everything out.
Right.
It's their job to create the North Star and bring someone that could figure out operation, who could figure out logistics, who could figure out creativity, who could figure out that. And that goes back to my original point. If you take that into your own life and you say, okay, well, if my job is to be still enough to listen and know and mature enough to identify when I'm operating in fear, and it's the universe and God's job to figure it out. But once they figure it out, once they put the North Star, they're the CEO. Once they say, here's where you should go, then I got to have the courage to go move cities or leave jobs to change to another job. Then that's the part where I think the difference between people is that some people are courageous. Tom Brady on the field beats you in fourth quarter because the emotional, like, that kicks in and creates the fear and creates the mistakes and creates the anxiety.
Going back to feeling uncomfortable and all those emotions that you just mentioned kick you into hyperspeed.
Yeah.
And gets that adrenaline going that we talked about earlier. And you end up performing better than what you're probably thinking you are not in control.
Yeah.
Probably, and playing horribly, and you're actually probably playing the best.
Yeah. Which tells you that your mind will psych you out.
And that plays into the fight or flight theory that is also, ingrained in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Which is, again, my background.
Yeah.
So it's all of that background and training and that also is applied to my daily work.
But in the process of doing all this work on yourself and obviously maturing as a man, have you been able to identify kind of the trauma triggers that have come up and we'll talk about Will because we had the pleasure of working together in that amazing interview about Beautiful Scars. But in Tantrum, he talks about, my inner child is throwing a tantrum. Have you been able to identify that in yourself? Like when your filter of the trauma that you might have experienced as a kid or as a young adult kicks in and you realize, oh, this is my inner child playing a tantrum.
For sure. I'm very conscious of others' feelings and how people will forget words, but people will never forget how you made them feel. It's a constant thing that I'm always working on. But I like seeing people happy. I like making people happy. And so Enrique also, in trying to make other people happy, has not been happy a lot of times of my life. So I've identified also moments where, no, it's okay that if, I want to take this trip and it's going to cost me so much, it's okay because it's my work. It's my money. I worked for it. And I'm not going to feel guilty about it. Where in the past I would have been, or if I'm buying a car or from buying a watch or whatever it may be. In the past, I would like guilt trip myself. Not that I didn't deserve it, but I'm like, wow, but this money could be going to help another person, another family member. But what's wrong in, I work so hard and I get up every morning. There's nothing wrong in investing in myself, in my own, again, mental health. It's an investment. I'm not into material things. I have what I need. I consider myself minimalistic when it comes to that. A lot of people have 5, 6, 7 cars. They like collecting cars. That's cool. I'm just, the way my brain works, if I have more than one car, I worry about like, okay, where's the car charger and what car is it in and where do I leave? If I have my hat. I'm just very way. So everything in my life is that way. My closet, I have, my shirts organized. And if I have something that I don't use, I don't like having it even in my house. I'll donate it. I'll find a way. I'll find someone that make use of it. And, but in that, I'm in a constant, not battle, but I think it is a battle now that I think of it. I'm in a constant battle to make my life easier and eliminate the drama and the stress. Again, because I live a very noisy life because of the work I do. So when I get home, I want peace. See, I want a little bit of that balance.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying and it's more about frequency, and it makes sense. I want to be on the right frequency. I want to try to find, although balance is never, you're going to find the perfect balance, but I try to balance my day with work, play, my responsibilities, and me being silly. I consider myself a silly guy. I like laughing at myself. I like laughing with my friends and having a good time and not taking myself so serious, because sometimes the line of work that I do is very serious.
Part of the journey that I've learned, my spiritual leader asked me once, he said, Lex, you have a given heart. You're really passionate about helping people. You are always thinking about how to facilitate someone else's life, and you give from a pure heart. So the question is, why are you giving? And I was like, for all the same reasons you just talked about. I said, no. Do you identify when you're giving? If you're giving because you feel the need to fix the fear, to fix acceptance, to feel, and I was like, well, how do I know this? I said, well, you ever given to someone and then when you needed them, they don't, they're too busy or they call you back, or maybe you gave them a Rolex and they gave you a Casio, and you start feeling like, man, why is that person acting like that with me? He's like, you were giving when you were feeling good, but when you're contracted and you don't feel good, all of a sudden it's very easy to be like, oh, bro, I'm not calling that person back. He didn't call me back. I helped him do this and he didn't even come. Like, it's like, wait. Were you giving that because you wanted something in return, or you giving? And reanalyzing that in my life as I've approached giving of my time, giving of my, money, giving of whatever it is, it's been really interesting, because I have found areas of my life where I was like, okay, this is about me feeling good in this moment. Because I want that person to think like, wow, Lex is such a great guy. He gifted me. And it wasn't necessarily like what it is. Because the second thing he said to me was like, stop trying to save people. People don't need saving. You're preventing life from showing them the lessons when you kick in, and you kick in trying to save them your way. So in my relationship, for example, it'd be like something goes wrong and I'd have to like, and I don't sometimes consider the emotion my partner might be feeling, because I'm just trying to solve the problem, because I'm a natural problem solver, and solving the problem is what she needs. It's
your instinct.
And all she really needed was just a hug and say, hey, it's okay. Like, she didn't need me to go into action and work out.
Remind her that the next time she wants to watch.
That's what I was. But part of the conversation as well, as we're coming to a close, do you feel that you're trying to still discover who Enrique is? Especially, I say in our business, we tend to build these costumes, right? And you spoke a little bit about that with Will, and we build this protection mechanism around us, whether that's our team or our PR team or even ourselves, right? Like we create Lex instead of Alejandro because Lex is this image of perfection. But Enrique is the beautiful smiled, funny guy at radio, and they tend to be protection mechanisms for who we truly are, right? Which we explore that, and we're exploring that in our conversation as we're going through this therapy session, this mutual therapy session.
This free first therapy session.
It's 0.99 not free therapy session.
I'm afraid of the I'm afraid of the bill I'm gonna get.
But do you feel that you're still in that journey of really letting that inside you, that inside Enrique out, or you feel like it's it's a true reflection of everything that you are?
No, for the most part, I consider myself a very authentic person. What you see is what you get. Are there layers sometimes where I put up certain barriers and I want to protect myself? Yes, absolutely. Taking into consideration, that I do a syndicated morning show every day. I'm in a very vulnerable situation, and I speak very freely about everything and anything. There's nothing that's really taboo on my radio program with my audience, which has been key to my success, I would say. My audience appreciates that the way I look at it. I'm at the same level with them. I'm not below them. I'm not above them, and people appreciate that. That's been, again, part of a big part of my success. So, and I keep true to that. I try to lead by example. I don't preach to my audience. But it's amazing, Lex, and it's so much pressure every day because people will literally, first of all, for us folks in radio, I like to say that we are the original influencers. Okay, before social media, we are the people that still today. It's amazing how people will like, what's that shirt that you're wearing? Hey, my son saw the shoes you were wearing. What brand is that? Where can I buy those? Could you send me the link to this, that, and the other? So, so with that, and going back to what you had asked me about, when did I realize I was famous? And fame to me is not really, I think it's overvalued. And I run into a lot of people, especially young people. Oh, I want to be famous. I want to, I want to be rich. Oh, wow, you have X amount of followers. I want that. And I'm like, do you really analyze, don't do that for the likes. Don't do something for, and I get asked that a lot, how can I do what you are doing? And I'm always just tell people, do things do things because that's what you're really passionate about. So I'm passionate about what I do. I'm blessed. And I realize that blessing every single day to have a microphone that you're able to positively influence people, especially doing morning radio. You basically set the tone of what people's day is going to be, So with that is, we filter a lot of, not that it's not real, because my show I consider is very, very real, but I try to filter, take into consideration that there's a lot of co-listening. A lot of the people that listen to me are families that are in commute, that are taking their kids to school, that there's grandparents and parents and moms and dads and primarily kids listening, right, of all different ages. I take that with a great sense of responsibility, to use the right words, to be positive, to not be negative in such a negative world that we live in right now, when everything it looks to seems as if it's looking to divide us. Just really, try to bring people together. And I get lost sometimes in that, in that process. That's why those quiet times for me are so important, so that I check myself, so that I don't believe my own bullshit, all without having to take ayahuasca. I haven't done it. Maybe one day you'll convince me.
I had this question about being a radio host, right? Because I find it so interesting to speak to a mic and not have an audience. And it's like, you're not getting a response right away. So you don't know if that hit, if the joke hit, if it didn't hit.
You're always going to have that factor, right? Because we have no idea how many people you're impacting are listening to you right now, are watching, specifically with audio.
Yeah.
It's so unique. It's so powerful because audio is the one source of media that you don't have to have someone's full undivided attention. They can be multitasking. They can be listening to you and they can be doing exercise. And they can be listening to you and they can be eating. They can be showering and still listening to you. So it's the only source of media that it doesn't require 100% attention, yet it still has your attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you don't know the impact of how many people you're actually reaching. And the same is true now for social media with cameras, or how many people are watching, or on demand too.
Yeah.
You know, audio and video is on demand. So we could be having this conversation here today, and they could be we could be impacting somebody, or somebody could be seeing it for the very first time 6 months from now or a year from now.
What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of the person that the man that I have become, coming from an immigrant family. My parents and grandparents that were born in a dictatorship in communist Cuba, to be able to come to this country. It's funny you asked me. I had a real come to life moment the very first time I was invited to the White House. It was during Hispanic Heritage Month. It was for a president administration that I had not voted for. However, that administration decided to invite me to the White House. I'm in the White House for the very first time. The bartender serving me a vodka soda was born in communist Cuba, just like my parents and my grandparents. And I started thinking, wow. And my brother was actually serving his second term in the United States Army. Very proud of him. And it was a very special moment for me, because I realized, wow, my parents and grandparents were born in a country that they were never able to speak their mind or exercise a vote, democratic vote. Yet here I am in the White House for the very first time, celebrating my heritage, my Hispanic heritage, celebrating my grandparents and grandparents. The bartender was born also in communist Cuba, and he's serving, he had told me he had served like 6 or 7 other presidents in his position with a lot of pride. My brother's serving in the United States Army. I says, where else in the world could you, not vote for a president, yet his administration invite you to the White House? That was a very proud moment for me. I've had a lot of proud moments like that throughout my career, and blessed to have simple things. I've had a lot of big accomplishments, and I'm proud of all of those. But I think I'm most proud of the simple things. When people come up to me and say, thank you. I was going through a dark time in my life, thought about checking out, doing harm to myself, doing something stupid. And I heard your radio program, or I came across some of your content, and you changed my day. You made me happy. So those are the things that I'm proud of, when I'm able to connect. When I get people that saying, hey, because I identify with that too, but with the language thing and the cultural thing, my parents were born in Cuba, but I was born here in the United States, and I speak full Spanish only because my parents told me, aquí en casa vas a hablar español, and I'm so thankful to that. But I get so many people now, and parents tell me, hey, thank you. I'm like, thanks for what? Because thanks to you and your prank calls and your interviews and your content that you do with the English, on the English side, I'm able to show my kids that, you can be Latino and live simultaneously in 2 worlds and still have success. And you're an example of that. I'm like, wow, that makes me proud. Is that my kids are now learning. They were born here in the United States, just like you, but they're learning now they're learning to speak Spanish. They want to, so you've made, basically they're saying you made Spanish cool, awesome. Enough for my kids that were born here in the United States to want to speak the language.
I love that. It's the little things that really count, I think, So on the show, we always do something, and, you versus you is the idea that, the biggest battle we have is our internal one. And that the words, the power words have go beyond, to your point, not only what we could say to others, right? And I always say, I could tell you I love you and you could feel it. I can, curse at you and you could feel that. And I realized that we are with ourselves more than we are with anybody else. And we're speaking to ourselves more than we are to anybody else. And so I believe in the power of the words we are saying to ourselves. And we started this since the top, and it's, what is one sentence that you can say to yourself right now that will change the way you perceive this week.
Wow. I love you. Take care of yourself. Pay attention to where you're at and the positive impact that you have on others and what your responsibility is in this moment in life. We're responsible for our actions, right? We get tied up in so much bullshit. We got to be better. Well, Enrique's got to be better for himself. It's touching to me, this one particular question that you're asking me and how you're closing, because I recently wrote a letter to myself. And if you haven't done it, I recommend it. I was just going through some old pictures of Enrique as a kid. And I started, wow, what was I thinking in that moment, in that, in life, in that particular moment, that day, and trying to like reminiscing, taking me back there, looking back to, and even to your question when you asked, what am I, most proud of in my life? And I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm proud that I am where I am. I'm proud that I made it to where I am. But I guess so much more to go. I think one of the best therapeutic things, and if I can, I recommend everyone doing it, sitting down, taking a day to yourself, writing yourself a letter. Write a letter to yourself. It was transformative. It was very, very powerful. And it took me back to that moment with your question. I think we need to listen to ourselves more, and be better to ourselves.
Yeah. I would say mine is, you're okay. No matter what seems like it's not, you're okay and everything's okay. And sometimes, again, it's the most powerful thing you can say, and I'll steal this one from Will, is you can make it. It's like, you're okay, right? That concept of like everything that is happening is just irrelevant to the fact of how you're internal. And even for myself in the work and everything.
But do you find yourself like saying to yourself that you're not okay?
I find myself not saying that I'm not okay. I find myself facing the circumstances sometimes of my life and feeling the contraction of fear, right? Or feeling the contraction of stress. And while I've gotten, again, a lot better at catching it and at least being aware, it doesn't stop from, it's not a day and night change. No one's ever arrived, right? So I find myself being sometimes in places where the circumstances of the day will send my body into shock. And even things like, before coming here this morning, last night, I had the weirdest dream. But it was a nightmare. Like I woke up.
I had that effect.
100%. I knew it was you. I woke up and I was like, is it Jesus? No, it's Enrique. But like I had one of those dreams that like I rarely have nightmares, but it triggered an emotional reaction in my morning where even while I was at the gym, like I was trying to kick off the thought of the possibility of the nightmare that I was having even happening. Mm-hmm. And I noticed my body going into shock, right? In the middle of a workout, I'm like, I caught myself doing that. And so I felt the need to tell myself, hey, you're okay, But it felt so real, and it came from circumstances that were happening in real life. So it was like, when you overthink something at night, your brain takes you for the ride, like when you do ayahuasca. But so I again, same thing. It's like the power of really catching yourself, and being able to say the words, because it's like that in therapy. They use this exercise and. Where they tell you, close your eyes. Mm-hmm. Imagine you're driving down the PCH in California and you hear the waves and you hear the wind blowing and you hear the engine of your car. And then you see this amazing orange trees. And you pull up down the side of the road and you pick one out and you cut it and it just, all the water, and you bite into it. Your brain believes that it's happening, so it creates saliva.
Salivating and everything. Yeah.
And that idea of that exercise from a mental state shows you how powerful your words are. Because you can create that same change in your life through what we say to ourselves. So it's why I ask this question always at the end, because I really believe that the goal of sharing this fellowship with each other is that you can leave out of here more blessed and more enlightened and more joyful than when you walked in. So with that, thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming and being on this journey with me. I'm excited. And I'm excited to share the story, share this time together. And
thank you.
And I'm excited to catch up later and talk about your journey as we both evolve, right? But I'm so proud of everything you've done. I'm so proud of who you are and who you've been to me since day one, since I started this company, since before I knew anything about Latin music. You've always shown up. You've shown up to an event in the middle of COVID for me. Like that goes ways, that goes beyond. And so I really appreciate who you are in my life. I appreciate your friendship. And
same here, man.
And thank you for being a part of this journey, you versus you.
One of the things that I really enjoy and that really make me proud is to see friends succeed, to have a dream, and to see them grow even beyond what their original plan was. And this happens all the time when I meet people in the industry, when I meet new artists, when they come in, they have to see them grow, and then all of a sudden touring the world and charting and becoming some of the most popular artists on the planet. That all those things make me very proud that I had at least a little bit to do with their journey, and I'm proud of your journey, and this has been fantastic. I'm just scared of the bill I'm going to get for this session.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
This is going to be one expensive therapy session, and I am a lot happier now leaving than when I got here. I appreciate you.
Love that.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you guys for tuning in to You Versus You. Please subscribe, like, and share as we build this community and we help each other to live the life of our dreams.